Hello, and I will be analyzing and talking about these poems. Introduction to Poetry. I asked him to take a poem and hold it up to the light, like a color slide, or press an ear against its hive. I say drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out, or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with rope and torture a confession out of it. They begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means. This poem is about a poet's view on how people see poetry. The theme of the poem is instead of just analyzing the poem, just enjoy the poem for what it is. In the poem, it says, but all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with rope and torture a confession out of it. That part is saying that all people want to do is just find the meaning of the poem. Some figurative elements are metaphors, similes, and personification. One metaphor is, I say, drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out. This is a metaphor because the author is comparing a poem to a maze that a mouse runs through. A personification is, but all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with a rope and torture a confession out of it. This is personification because they treat the poem as if it's in person. Simile is, I asked him to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide. This simile is comparing a poem and a color slide. Analyzation. The first stanza means look at the poem carefully and study it. The second stanza means study the poem until you understand something or find something relatable. The third stanza is referring to have fun reading the poem because it uses words like water ski. Water skiing is fun, and the author wants to compare the poem to water skiing. In the fourth and fifth stanzas, the author is talking about people just want to know the meaning of the poem and don't care that it's just for fun. The next poem is The Summer I Was 16. The turquoise pool rose up to meet us. The turquoise pool rose up to meet us. It slid a silver afterthought down which we plunge, screaming into a mirage of bubbles. We do not exist beyond the gaze of a boy. Shaking water off our limbs, we lifted up from ladder rungs across the fern-cool lip of rim. Afternoon, oiled and sated, we sunbathed, rose, and paraded the concrete. Danced to the low beat of Duke of Earl, past cherry colas, hot dogs, dreamsicles. We came to the counter where bees staggered into root beer cups and drowned. We gobbled cotton candy torches, sweet as furtive kisses. Shared on benches beneath the summer shadows. Cherry, elm, sycamore. We spread our Chanel blankets across grass, pressed radios to our ears, mouthing the old words, then loosened thin bikini straps and rubbed baby oil with iodine across sunburned shoulders, tossing a glance through the chain link at an improbable world. This poem is about a memory of someone when they were 16. The theme of the poem is enjoy life while it lasts. Evidence for this is, we spread our Chanel blankets across grass, pressed radios to our ears, mouthing the old words, then loosened thin bikini straps and rubbed baby oil with iodine across sunburned shoulders, tossing a glance through the chain link at an improbable world. They didn't even think about their future. They just wanted to relax and enjoy their time while it lasts. Some figurative elements are similes and personification. A simile is cotton candy torches, sweet as furtive kisses. This simile is comparing the sweetness of cotton candy to furtive kisses. A personification is the turquoise pool rose up to meet us. This is personification because the pool cannot physically meet with anyone. So, analyzation. The first stanza says a girl and her friends were having fun at a pool. The second stanza is about after they swam, they decided to sunbathe. The third stanza says they danced to music and ate a bunch of junk food. The fourth stanza talks about laying on blankets and singing along to songs they know. Final stanzas say they just enjoyed themselves and didn't care about their worries and their future. The next poem is The Death of Santa Claus. He's had the chest pains for weeks, but doctors don't make house calls to the North Pole. He's let his Blue Cross last blood test make him faint. Hospital gown always flap open. Waiting rooms upset his stomach, and it's only indigestion anyway, he thinks. Until feeding the reindeer, he feels as if a monster fist has grabbed his heart and won't stop squeezing. He can't breathe, and the beautiful white world he loves goes black. And he drops on his jelly belly in the snow, and Mrs. Claus tears out of the toy factory wailing, and the elves wring their little hands, and Rudolph's nose blinks like a sad ambulance in light. And in the tract house in Houston, Texas, I'm 8, telling my mom that stupid kids at school say Santa's a big fake, and she sits with me on our purple flowered couch, takes my hand, tears in her throat, the terrible news rising in her eyes. This poem is about Santa Claus in the hospital because he had a heart attack, then he died. The theme of the poem is people see the truth as they grow up. Evidence is he can't breathe and the beautiful white world he loves goes black. This is saying the idea of Santa Claus dies when you grow up and realize what is real. Where it says the beautiful white world where he loves goes black means that the white world is referring to a child's thoughts about Santa. He grows up to find the truth and then doesn't believe about Santa anymore. So figurative elements are similes, personification, and metaphors. An example of a simile is Rudolph's nose blinks like a sad ambulance light. This simile is comparing Rudolph's nose and his sad ambulance light. Another example of simile is he feels as if a monster fist has grabbed his heart. This is comparing his hurting heart and a monster fist grabbing his heart. An example of personification is Rudolph's nose blinks like a sad ambulance. This is personification because they're giving the ambulance human features with the word sad. The metaphor in the poem is the terrible news rising in her eyes. The metaphor is comparing the terrible news and the tears coming from the child's mother's eyes. Analyzation. The first stanza is about Santa in the hospital, and the hospital must make phone calls to the North Pole because the adults at the hospital don't believe that Santa is real. The fourth stanza is referring to a child realizing that Santa isn't real and everything he believed is ruined. From the 8th stanza, it says that a kid is getting bullied for believing in Santa. He is sitting with his mom, and his mom is trying not to cry and give him the truth. The whole poem comes together as the boy learns about Santa, and then his belief about Santa dies. So the next poem is Cat Scat. I am watching Cleo listening, our cat listening to Mozart's magic flute. What can she be hearing? What can the air carry into her ears like that? Her ears swiveling like radio dishes that are tuned up to all the noise of the world, flat and sharp, high and low, a scramble of this and that. She can decode like nobody's business acrobat, of random airs as she is, although of course a bat is better at it, sifting out of its acoustic habitat the sound of the very shape of things automatically and on the wing at that. The magic flute. What a joy it is. I feel and wonder to the end this little scat does or can the cat. This poem is about a cat owner wondering what their cat thinks when they listen to music. The theme of the poem is not everyone sees things the same way you do. Evidence for this is what can she be hearing? What can the air carry into her ears like that? Her ears swiveling like a radio dishes that are tuned to all the noise of the world. The cat owner wonders how her cat listens to music. She wonders if the cat can hear music the same way she can. Some figurative elements from the poem are similes, hyperbole, and metaphor. A simile in the poem is her ears swivel like a radio dish. This simile is comparing her ears swiveling and radio dishes. An example of a hyperbole is tuned to all the noise of the world. This is an exaggeration of the cat's ears. A cat's ears can't really tune to all the noise of the world. A metaphor is she can decode like nobody's business. This metaphor is comparing a cat listening to decoding sounds. Analyzation. A cat owner is listening to music and her cat is beside her. She wonders if the cat listens to music the same way she does. What can the air carry into her ears like that? Her ears swiveling like radio dishes that are tuned to all the noise of the world. Flat and sharp, high and low, a scramble of this and that. She can decode like nobody's business. This part is asking if a cat's ears works the same way as a human's ears. Although, of course, a bat is better at it, sifting out of its acoustic habitat the sound of the very shape of things automatically, and on the wing at that. This part of the poem is referring to another animal's ears, the bat. The bat can hear things like humans, but is it the same with a cat? The end of the poem says the cat owner will keep wondering what the cat can hear.